My mother was an alcoholic, and my father was weak. She dominated everything. She dominated the household, my father. She dominated everything. Very trapped. She dominated everything. Very alone.
It would look something like this. The alcoholic would be the dominant person.
She dominated everything.
Inside that is the spouse or the codependent, suffocated by the alcoholic.
She dominated everything.
And then we have the child.
Very alone.
Reacting to both the codependent and the alcoholic. A very suffocating experience.
Very alone.
A place where there's no opportunity for individual growth.
Very alone.
Or for individual expression. Now, since you grow up in a situation that looks something like this,
she dominated everything.
Chances are that in your own relationships, as a reaction to this, you develop something that either looked like this, two people who looked as if
very alone.
They were getting along real well. That perfect couple that you see in the church on Sunday, side by side, but not really connected.
Very alone.
Or because you were so determined that you were never going to be swallowed up again in a relationship, it's entirely possible that you end up in a relationship where you become dominant and, in effect, swallow up the other person.
She dominated everything.
Do you relate to either of those two examples?
Well, I really relate to both of them because I really have a fear of being close. My mother was always a dominant one, so I've always wanted somebody to dominate me. She dominated everything. But then when they start to dominate me, I become afraid, and I want to dominate them. So consequently, I've very alone, not really had a satisfying relationship because of that. I'm just afraid of being close. Very alone. Very alone. Very alone.
The relationships described here are a reaction to what happened to her as a child. Children of alcoholics really enjoy the early stages of the relationship, the infatuation stage of the relationship, where the body chemistries are flowing and you can't really get enough of each other. Feels a little bit like Crisis. So it's awfully familiar, like Crisis. If you grew up in an alcoholic home, your needs were inconsistently met. You never really got all of the nurture that you wanted as a child. There's a place there where you feel somewhat empty. And the initial stage of the relationship, I mean, you're not really looking for a healthy relationship. You're looking for fusion, crisis. Okay? The initial stage of the relationship really serves these needs. So it feels wonderful. Crisis. One can't really sustain that kind of fusion and survive. Crisis. So it's not too long after one is involved in a relationship like this that one person may say to the other, I need to breathe. Crisis. Crisis. And it will be translated something like, I would like to spend an evening by myself. Crisis. Crisis. The adult child, when this happens, will feel rejected.
Very alone.
Because the needs are not being met at that point.
Very alone.
And it's not unusual for them to try and clutch the person back.
Very alone.
Or to simply leave and see if they can find another relationship where they can fuse.
She dominated everything.
Crisis. Fuse. Can't really get enough of each other. Fuse.
Very alone.
Fuse.
She dominated everything.
Fuse. Can't really get enough of each other. Fuse. Fuse. Fuse.